सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारंभं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा श्रुति स्मृति पुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शंकरं लोकशंकरं पुराण न्याय मीमांसा धर्मशास्त्रांग मिश्रिताः वेदाः स्थानानि विद्यानां धर्मस्य च चतुर्दश आयुर्वेदो धनुर्वेदो गान्धर्वश्चैव ते त्रयः अर्थशास्त्रं चतुर्थं तु विद्याः अष्टादशैव ताः। ओम शांतिः शांतिः शांतिः। Namaste. I welcome everyone who is watching this video. This video is brought to you by Indica Bhasha and it is second in a new series of talks with the well-known Indian scholar, Sanskritist, Dr. Radhavallabh Tripathi ji. The first video in this series was called The Acharya Parampara of Nāṭyaśāstra, Development of Nāṭyaśāstra as a Knowledge System. And the link to that video can be accessed from the description of this video. Today's topic, today's title is Nāṭyaśāstra and Veda. I welcome Professor Tripathi to share his views on this topic. Welcome, Professor. Namaste.
Thank you very much. So, in the series of lectures on the Nāṭyaśāstra, I have discussed the Acharya Parampara of Nāṭyaśāstra. That means the development of the theory and also the practice of Nāṭyaśāstra, right from the very ancient times, Vedic period, up to modern times. And various great thinkers and their works on Nāṭyaśāstra we have discussed. Today's lecture we will be discussing the interrelationship between Nāṭyaśāstra and Veda. A part of it slightly we have covered in my first lecture, and I will be taking the same subject, that is the interrelationship between Nāṭyaśāstra and Veda, for this lecture, that is the second lecture under the series. So, what is Nāṭyaśāstra? Nāṭyaśāstra, as the text itself defines itself, that Nāṭyaśāstra discusses Natya Veda. So, Natya itself is a Veda in the view of Nāṭyaśāstra. In the perspective of Nāṭyaśāstra, Natya or knowledge of Nāṭyaśāstra is Veda. It is an eternal knowledge. So, the eternal knowledge which continues from generation to generation is known in our tradition as Veda. And because Natya is an eternal knowledge, therefore it is Veda. And the Shastra, the text or the corpus of theories which discusses this Veda, Natya Veda, is Nāṭyaśāstra. So this is the interrelationship between Natya Veda and Nāṭyaśāstra. That Nāṭyaśāstra is the Shastra or the theoretical framework for the eternal knowledge which has been continuing, which is Sanatan Jnana. Because even all theater people believe that theater has always been with us right from the inception of Homo sapiens on this earth. Theater was with them. Some kind of theater is always there with the human being. So Natya, if you translate it roughly as theater, it has always been with the human beings. So it is an eternal knowledge. Any human being has an inclination to perform a kind of theater. He has theater within himself as in his sanskaras. And Nāṭyaśāstra leads to the experience of that theater. It defines that Natya which lies within us, that Sanatan Jnana of Natya. So this is the interrelationship between Nāṭyaśāstra and Natya Veda, and why Natya is termed as a Veda, and what this Natya Veda has, what this Nāṭyaśāstra has to do with the Vedas which are known in our tradition. that is the four Vedas. This is the question we will be discussing today. So Nāṭyaśāstra is a regard of the authentic knowledge of the right practice of the natas, and the revelation of this knowledge is Natya Veda. And Shastra discusses this knowledge or the Veda. So Veda and Shastra have a relationship of the proposed and the proponent, you can say. As we say in our tradition, Pratipadya Pratipadak Bhava. So Natya is Pratipadya and Nāṭyaśāstra is Pratipadak. Nāṭyaśāstra is the text which discusses, which treats Natya as a Sanatana Jnana. And this is the Pratipadya Pratipadak Bhav is the relation. Now, Nāṭyaśāstra, how does it discuss Natya as a Veda? Right from the very first chapter, Nāṭyaśāstra discusses why Natya is termed as Veda and how this Natya Veda is realized. Veda, if it is an eternal knowledge, it has always been with us. But the question is how human beings discover it, that it has been with us. So it's a manifestation, you can say. How did it manifest? So this question is discussed in the very first chapter of Nāṭyaśāstra, where in a kind of mythological account, Bharat Muni, as a great Vedic sage, is sitting in his hermitage, and some other sages, headed by Atreya and others, they approach him. They are curious to learn Natya as Veda. They might be knowing Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samveda, Atharvaveda, or they may be Mimamsakas or Nayayikas, these munis, but they approach Bharata as a Vedagya of Natya, as a Natya Vedagya. And they say that we want to learn this Natya Veda also. We have learned Vedangas as are known in our curriculum, but we want to learn this Natya Veda also. So they put up 5 questions before Bharat Muni. How did Natya Veda originate? Natya Veda katham brahman utpanna kasya vakrate katyanga kim pramanasya prayogasyasya kidrisha. This is the third stanza of the first chapter of Nāṭyaśāstra. So the first 2 stanzas, after the Mangalacharana, Bharat Muni says that Bharat Muni was sitting in the hermitage after his jap, after his morning chanting of mantras. That was Anadhyaya in his hermitage that day. And some sages approached him and asked him 5 questions. These 5 questions are here. Natya Veda katham brahman utpanna. How did Natya Veda originate? Kasya vakrate. For whom it was created, for whom it was discovered, for whom it did manifest, whom it is meant for. This is the second question. And what are its components? Kati anga. How many components does it have? And what is its pramana? Kim pramanasya? This is the fourth question. The extent of, what is the extent of it? This is one idea of pramana, and what is the authority of it? How to authenticate it? How do we believe that Natya is a Veda? And how it is practiced? Prayogasyasya kidrisha. These 5 questions were proposed before Bharat Muni, and Nāṭyaśāstra was spelled out, was spoken before these munis by Bharat Muni in answer to these 5 queries. So these 5 queries are about Natya Veda, and Bharat Muni replies to these 5 queries, and Nāṭyaśāstra is created. So in this way, the first chapter spells out the Pratipadya Pratipadak Bhava between Natya Veda and Nāṭyaśāstra. So Bharat Muni describes the manifestation of Veda. If Veda is an eternal knowledge, it in every creation, in every yuga, it would manifest. So how Natya, the manifestation is done by Brahma. Brahma becomes the means for its manifestation. So in the same way, if Vedas are created they manifest in each yuga because of Brahma, or Brahma creates them in each yuga. In the same way, this Natya Veda was also created by Brahma. So Brahma created Natya as Veda, and the story goes on in the first chapter. It's a kind of mythical account because you can't describe any historical process of the manifestation of Veda. So this mythological language is adopted, and Natya is described as a Veda, and its creation by Brahma is described. So there was a Treta Yuga, and Pura Treta Yuge Vipra Manor Vevasvatasya tu. This stanza goes on like this, that Treta Yuga was there and Krita Yuga had passed, and people were greedy, they were given to worldly pleasures and pains. In Krita Yuga or in Satya Yuga, everybody is blissful, everybody is leading blissful life. But in Treta Yuga, pleasure is mixed with pains. So there is a need for a new Veda, and the gods felt the need for a new Veda, and they approached Brahma. They requested Brahma to create a new Veda. They requested him, Tasmat Sraja Param Vedam Panchvam Sarva Varnikam. You create another Veda, because all the four Vedas, they are no more accessible to common people. Sanshravya Shudra Jatishu. These are the words in the first chapter of Nāṭyaśāstra. These four Vedas are now no more accessible to common people or to Shudras and to women in Treta Yuga. So therefore create the fifth Veda. Tasmat Raja Param Vedam Panchmam Sarvavarnikam. They requested Brahma in this way, and Brahma then started, he went into his samadhi, he recalled all the four Vedas, he took out four components, each from the four Vedas, and created the fifth Veda. So in this way, the creation of four Veda is described. These are the stanzas, I am omitting them. So Tasmat Sraja Param Vedam Panchmam Sarvavarnikam, this is the request by the gods to Brahma. So Natya is defined as the Pancham Sarvavarnika Veda. This is the fifth Veda meant for all the Varnas. Sarvavarnikam, that means it is meant for all the Varnas. And then how Vedas are created? Because Brahma, Tasya Mahato Bhutasya Nishvashitam Yad Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharveda, etc. As Atharveda and Upanishads describe that the Vedas were created by the Mahabhuta or Param Purusha. In the same way, Brahma created this fifth Veda. So, and this fifth Veda is described as Dharmyam, Arthyam, Yashashyam, Cha, Sopadeshyam, Sasangraham, Bhavishyatasya Lokasya, Sarva Karmanu Darshakam. Like all the other Vedas, it speaks of religion, of artha, prosperity of life, of fame, glory of human beings, and it imparts Upadesha, it is Purushartha Upadesha it gives, it discusses the values of life, and it shows the path to humanity. Bhavishyatasya lokasya sarva karmanu darshakam. It is the anudarshaka, or it shows the light to the human beings for their future activities. So this is the fifth Veda, Sarva Shastrartha Sampannam. The 15th stanza says, it has all the Shastras, Sarva Shilpa Pravartakam, all the arts and crafts it has. And this is the fifth Veda. I will now create. Brahma resolved in this way, then he created this fifth Veda. So Nāṭyaśāstra is described as the fifth Veda. And how this fifth Veda is created, Brahma pulled the essence of four Vedas and created out of the four Vedas, he created the fifth Veda. So after acceding to the request of the gods, Evamastu iti procha, this is the line there, let it be so, Brahma said. And he dismissed the Lord of gods, Indra, you go now and I will create the fifth Veda. And he started contemplating, he went into his samadhi, he recalled the four Vedas and resolved that I shall now create fifth Veda, and which will be called Natya Veda, and which will exemplify dharma, etc., etc. I have read these stanzas also, so I'll go to the next. And evam bhagavata srashto brahmana sarvvedina vedopavedi sambadho natya vedo mahatmana. Thus, Sarvvedi, omniscient God Brahma, created this fifth Veda related to the four Vedas and Upavedas. There are four Vedas: Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Atharvaveda, and each Veda has its Upaveda also. And there are, of course, diverse views on what are the Upavedas. But Ayurveda is one of the Upavedas; it belongs to Rig Veda. Otherwise, another view is that Ayurveda belongs to Atharvaveda. We will not go into these details. And Dhanurveda, that is martial arts, it is attached to Yajurveda and Gandharveda, obviously to Samaveda, and Sthapatya Veda, Vastu Veda to Atharvaveda. So this Natya Veda is related to four Vedas and their Upavedas, and it is created out by by drawing essence of these four Vedas. Then Natya Vedam Tataschakre Chaturvedanga Sambhavam, Brahma created this fifth Veda, which is born out of the four Vedas, and what element is taken from each Veda. Jagraha Pathyam Rig Vedat. Pathya or textual part, the portion for recitation, was taken out from Rig Veda. Samabhyo Geetamevcha, the music was taken from Samaveda. Yajurvedad Abhinayan, the Abhinaya part of Natya was derived from Yajurveda, and Rasanatharvanadapi. The Rasa element was taken from Atharvaveda. So Natya, this is a definition of Natya also, that Natya has four basic elements. It should have Pathya, that is some kind of dramatic text, which has dialogues. The dialogues are recited. This is Pathya, the textual part. Then it should have music, and songs are sung when Natya is performed. And it should have gesticulations, that is Abhinaya. Performance, you can say. Acting, we normally say, but Abhinaya is a wide term, and it has a it has a wider connotation in the tradition of Nāṭyaśāstra. So the complete performance involving Angik, Vachik, Satvik, and Aharya, that is speech and your concentration within Vachik and Satvik, and the movements of your body, and your employment of properties, costumes, and equipments. So all these elements which make a complete performance, they are called Abhinaya. So the Abhinaya part was derived from Yajurveda, and the Rasa, the experience part of it, was derived from Atharvaveda. So Natya as a Veda is linked to the earlier four Vedas, and it is viewed in Nāṭyaśāstra tradition as the fifth Veda. And this is the tradition. There are other Vedas besides the four Vedas. Even the Brahmana text, which are part of Vedic literature, they said there is a Asur Veda, there is a Paishach Veda. So, whatever knowledge which comes to us from generation to generation is Veda. So that knowledge is Veda. Therefore, there may be many other Vedas apart from these four Vedas. Therefore, in a tradition, Mahabharata is also termed as the fifth Veda, and there is another tradition which regards Akhyana, corpus of Akhyana literature as the fifth Veda. So there are traditions about the fifth Veda or other Vedas also. So now there is a justification. Modern scholars sometimes say that it is just a glorification of Natya, that it is the fifth Veda and it is created by deriving different elements from the four Vedas. It is simply a glorification. Theater has nothing to do with Vedas as such. Some of the modern scholars say. But in our tradition, there is a whole discussion of the whole logic. Why and how Nāṭyaśāstra is invariably linked to these four Vedas. And in the historical process also, we discussed in the first lecture that there is in the earliest period of the development of Nāṭyaśāstra theory, the theory is coming from the four Vedas. The four Vedas and mantras and their performance in the yajna ceremony, it is very invariably linked to the development of the theater in our tradition. So Nāṭyaśāstra is not simply paying a lip service or salutation to the Vedas. It is indicating the historical process where Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samveda, and Atharveda, actually played the key role for the development of Natya in the hoary past, in the prehistoric period. Some of it we have discussed in the first lecture. So Abhinav Gupta and other commentators, they discuss why Rig Veda is supposed to have contributed to the textual part of it. And because Rig Veda is Traiswarya Pradhana, it has three Swaraj, Udat, Anudat, and Swarit. And a fourth Swara is also added to it, that is called Kampita. So Bharat Muni describes four Swaras when a text of a play is recited. When we speak dialogues on theater, so in the realistic theater, the dialogues are spoken the way we speak in our normal life, in our day-to-day life. That is the realistic theater. But in traditional theater, the dialogues are spoken as if Vedic mantras are being chanted. If you see a traditional theater like Kudiyattam or Yakshagana or any traditional theater, their dialogue delivery is a bit different. So the tradition of the dialogue delivery has come from Rig Veda, as Abhinav Gupta says, that these three swaras of Veda, they are applied to the dialogue deliveries in the theater. Actually, they are applied. So this whole concept of vak, which becomes the mantri vak, that is derived from Rig Veda, and that concept and dialogue delivery, the system of dialogue delivery was taken from Rig Veda. And another explanation is that Rig Veda has dialogue hymns. And these dialogue hymns are, several dialogue hymns are there. I have noted some of them. Many others are there. So the dialogue, the concept of dialogue is given in Rig Veda. And the earliest specimen of dialogues which can be performed in a theatric way, that is given by Rig Veda. And that these dialogue hymns contributed to the emergence of Natya, to the development of theater in our country in the hoary past. So therefore, Rig Veda has a key role to play by the way of contributing the textual part. Pururava Survashi Samvada Sukta in the 10th mandala, it has 18 mantras. And 9 are spoken by Pururava, 9 are spoken by Urvashi. After each mantra of Pururavas, which is a pathetic call to Urvashi to return to his world, there is a reply coming from Urvashi that I can't return to you. I can't come back to you. I have to go back to heaven. So this is a dramatic dialogue between Pururavas and Urvashi, a lover and his beloved, and they are departing, and Urvashi is taking a kind of farewell from Pururavas. And in the same way, Sarma Pani Samvada, Agastya Lopamudra Samvada, Yam Yami Samvada, Vrishakapi. Vrishakapi is very, very interesting. 3 persons are talking. In this way, the concept of dialogue and concept of reciting a text for theater was very much to do with Rig Veda, and the Pathya in this way was created out of Rig Veda. And Jagraha Pathyam Rig Vedat and Samabhyo Giti Mevacha, the music element was adopted from Samveda, because the whole Indian music is created out of Samaveda. It is basically, it is Sama Sangita, and in Nāṭyaśāstra this Sama Sangita is adopted. In later tradition, after 10th, 11th century, the music system changes, and there is a Raga Ragini system. So it differs a little bit from the Sama Sangit system. Before that, it is Sama Sangita, and that Sama Sangita is in practice in Nāṭyaśāstra. The dhruvas which are sung in the practice of Natya, they are sung as per the Sama Sangita system. Therefore, the whole music system comes from Samaveda, and Nāṭyaśāstra is the first authentic and detailed elaboration of Sama Sangita, because it has devoted as many as 7 chapters to ancient Indian music, which is actually Sama Sangita. From chapter 28 to 34, these 7 chapters are devoted, 7 adhyayas are devoted to music or Sangita in Nāṭyaśāstra. And it is the first authentic and extensive record of Indian music which is given by Samaveda. Very detailed elaboration of it. And Bharat Muni says that it has all come from Samaveda, and Brahma, when he was creating Natya Veda, he derived this music, the whole idea, practice, and theory of music from Samaveda. So Jagraha Pathyam Rigvedat, Samabhyo Giti Mevcha, Pathya element from Rigveda and music element Giti from Samaveda, and Yajurveda Abhinayan. The Abhinaya part of it comes from Yajurveda, because there is a very detailed explanation by Abhinav Gupta and other commentators why Yajurveda plays a key role in the development of the concept of Abhinaya, the theater performance, because the Yajna is invariably linked to the practice of theater. The ritual of Yajna itself is theatrical, and the way Yajurveda prescribe the rules for performance of Yajnas, they are adopted in the performance of Natya. So Natya is also spelled out or defined as a Yajna by Bharat Muni, and the performance of Yajna contributes to the performance of Natya in the tradition, because Yajurveda describes the Abhinaya part of it. The whole performance of Yajna becomes a kind of theater performance, because the priest, Hota, Advaryu, Udgata, and Brahma, these 4 types of priests, they are properly dressed. Rohitoshni Shah Ritvija Pracharanti. They should have proper attire. So their costumes are described. Then their entry is described. After entering the arena of the Yajna Vedi, they make circumambulation, pradakshina. We will have a break. So after entering the Yajna Mandapa, they make pradakshina or circumambulation. And they start chanting the mantras. The whole practice by the priest is theatrical. So in this way, Yajurveda has contributed to theater performance or to the Abhinaya part of it. And Atharvaveda has contributed to the concept of aesthetic experience, because Abhinav Gupta explains that that Atharvaveda describes various Shanti karmas and Jaran Maran karmas, various tantric practices, which lead to a kind of apurva anubhava, a kind of unique experience. And that experience is a rasa experience. So otherwise also Atharvaveda has various hymns which are full of rasa. There are dialogues between the lover and the beloved in Atharvaveda. There are Shangara Suktas in Atharvaveda. Therefore, Atharvaveda contributes to the element of rasa in the development of theater. And in the story, in the mythological story, therefore it is said that Brahma has taken the element of rasa from Atharvaveda. So in this way, Pathya, Giti, and Abhinaya and Rasa, these 4 elements are taken respectively from Yajurveda, Samveda, Atharvaveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Rigveda, Samaveda, Yajurveda, and Atharvaveda. And we also see the linkage of theater practice and yogic practice, because Yajurveda also describes physical gestures, the hasta sanchalan. When the mantras are chanted, the hand movements are there, and the movements of the priest, their way of entry and production of praveshan up. So in these concepts are adopted by Bharat Muni in his Nāṭyaśāstra also, when he describes the entries of the actors. The actor would have production pravesha and aproduction pravesha. Two types of entries are described. And an actor, when he stages his entry, he should make circumambulation on the stage, because there is a Brahma Mandal. So the whole concept of Yajna Mandapa is adopted in the Natya Mandapa. If Yajna Mandapa has a Vedi, in the same way Natya Mandapa also has a Vedi, and there is a Mandal besides the Vedi, and the actor having a stage entry is supposed to make circumambulation around that mandala, around that Brahma mandala. So the whole concept of the performance of yajna as given in Yajurveda tradition is adopted in Natya tradition. Therefore, these four Vedas in this way, Rig Veda, Samaveda, Yajurveda, and Atharvaveda, have contributed four major elements which constitute Natya or theatre, that is Pathya, Giti, Abhinaya, and Rasa. That is the text, music, performance, or the methodology for performance, and theatrical experience or aesthetic experience, roughly you can say. So in this way, there are other references from Yajurveda to prove that the whole practice of yajna, as described in Yajurveda, has led to the development of theater performance. Because when the priests are walking around the Vedi, they say in the mantra that Vishnu is enshrined here. So we should not touch Vishnu by our feet. So this is a presumption. It's a kind of make believe. It's a kind of theatrical performance that gods are invoked. Gods are invisible. There are no pratimas when they are performing the yajna, but gods are there. So since the gods are invoked and they are sitting around the yajna vedi in the arena of the yajna mandapa, therefore the priest who are performing yajna, when they are making circumambulation, then in the mantras themselves they say that Vishnu is here. Let us not touch Vishnu by our feet. So we will make a turning. We will avoid Vishnu so that we may not touch him by feet. So all these practices are reflected in the performance of Sanskrit drama also, that there is a Brahma Mandal and gods are there. And the actor would make a circumambulation, a pradakshina around the Brahma Mandal, and then he would start performing. So this second and third chapter, which I will be coming to them, they describe this Brahma Mandal and how the gods are invoked and they are seated on the stage, and then the whole theater practice is a yogic practice in this way. So in this way, the whole theater or performance of drama becomes a yajna. Therefore, Bharat Muni says, yajna sammitam yetat ranga devat pujanam. The whole performance of Natya is at par with yajna. It is yajna itself. Then in Vedic yajna, otherwise also the Vedic yajnas are linked to theater. Some of such facts I have given in the first lecture also, that in yajna, sutas, shailushas and other artists are invited, and these sutas and shailushas, they are contributing to the development of theater also, and they are contributing to the performance of yajna also, because sutas, they come to construct the yajna vedi. They are sthapatis, and they are involved in the performance of Vedic yajna also. So in the 13th chapter of Yajurveda, there is a long list of artists or craftsmen who will be invited during the performance of yajna, and they have to be present there because they invariably contribute to the performance of yajna. And many of those artists, like Sutas, Shailushas, they are in the tradition, they are creating theater also. So in this way, Yajurveda The whole practice of yajna as described in the Atharvaveda is invariably linked to the performance of theater. And there are Shrot Sutras which describe that the performances of Nritya, Gita, etc., dialogues also, it will accompany the performance of Vedic yajnas. So there are Vedic yajnas where theater performances go on. Pitrimedha sacrifices, incorporates dances, Gita, songs, and playing of various instruments. And there are rhythmic movements during the performances. They create a kind of rhythm. And in Vajpayee Yagya, the wives of Yajmana, and they would be playing several Veenas. So the Shrauta Sutras, which lay down the Vidhi for the performance of Yagya, they describe these activities related to music and performance, which form a part of the Vedic Yagya itself. So Vajpayee Yagya would have this playing of Bodha Veena and Kanda Veena. These are the types of Veenas which are played there. And Veena Ganagins, that is the minstrels who gave recital of Veena performances, they would be giving their Veena recitals during the Vedic Yagya, and Gathas are being sung. This Katyan Shot Sutra and Latyan Shot Sutra, these two Shot Sutras, which are part of Vedic literature, and they describe the methodology or Vidhi for Vedic Yagya. They describe the theater activities and activities for music, etc., to be invariably included in the performance of Vedic Yagya. In Ashwamedh Yagya also, the Veena Vadakas are called, and even the payment of fees is described, the amount which will be paid to these acharyas of Veena. 100 coins, gold coins will be given to them as dakshina. And a jester is Vidushaka is also described, a lute player, Vanshavadaka is also described, and a hand clapper. They are accompanying these Veena acharyas, these minstrels of Veena. So in this way, theater is invariably included within the performance of Vedic Yagya, as per prescriptions in Yajurveda and the Shot Sutras which describe the Vidhi. And Shatpat Brahmana describes Shilalin as a Vedic priest. And this Shilali wrote a Nat Sutra. Panini informs that there was a Nat Sutra before Bharat Muni's Nāṭyaśāstra. I think I have referred to it in my first lecture, that in the course of development of the theory of Nāṭyaśāstra, Nat Sutra is the first text which was written by a Vedic priest who was Shilalin. And Parashari Shilalibhyam Bhikshu Nat Sutra Yo. This is the sutra from Panini's Ashtadhyayi, which describes that there was a Shilali, a Acharya, and he wrote a Nat Sutra for the Natas. So, and Atharvaveda, in Shatpat Brahmana says that Shilalin is a Vedic priest. He is a teacher of Vidhi of rituals. So the same Shilalin is also preaching the theater practice. He is writing a manual for the Natas, and same Shilalin is teaching the Vidhi of performance of Yagya. So in this way, they are juxtaposed together, theater and the performance of Yagya. And Yajurveda is the text which explains this linkage. In this way, the concept of performance comes from Yajurveda. And there were various other items during the course of performance of Vedic Yagyas. And it was a kind of cultural organization, the whole performance of Vedic Yagya. Vedic Yagya is somewhat different from the Yagya which we do nowadays. And the Panchamahayagyas, they come from the later tradition of the Smriti literature. But the Vedic Yagyas, which continues for several days, and Ashwamedha continued at least till 1 year. And Akhyanas were presented after the horse was launched. After the Ashwamedha Yagya Ashwa was sent for the Digvijaya Yatra, the Yagyasthali where the Ashwamedha sacrifice has started, each evening there will be a performance of Akhyana, and these Akhyanas are prescribed. There will be 10 cycles of 36 Akhyanas continuing for 360 days, 1 year, till the horse returned, till the Digvijaya Yatra Ashwa returns. So the Akhyana culminates into theater performance. There is a Akhyana theater, Akhyana Rangmanch in our tradition. So the narratives, the way they are presented with the dialogues and songs, they develop into theater. And Ashwamedha Yagya created in Ashwamedha Yagya that kind of Akhyana theater is created. So in this way, the whole tradition of Yagya, which starts from Yajurveda, is related to the performance of Natya. And there are other Shauta Sutras and even Dharma Sutras. They described the presence of Shudras and various other craftsmen. They should be involved in the Natya. And now we have one full-fledged drama or play written in Vedic language. It was discovered around 125 years back in Germany, the manuscript of Suparnadhyaya, and it was published from Germany in Roman script. Recently, IGNCA has published the Indian edition, very well edited by Professor G.C. Tripathi, and this play Suparnadhyaya. So it can be said to be the earliest play in world literature, the oldest drama in the world history of dramatic literature, you can say, because it should have been composed in the Vedic language, and Suparnadhyaya is based on the story of Garuda bringing Amrita from Swarga, and it is a very interesting play. So we have there were plays in Vedic language which were performed when the yagyas were being performed. And another place is Amritaharana. So Suparnadhyaya belongs to Rigveda tradition. It is a part of Rigveda Khil Bhaga. And this Amritaharanam on the same story, bringing of ambrosia or Amrita by Garuda from heaven to for the release of his mother from servitude. Kadru and Vinta, these two co-wives of Kashyapa Rishi, they quarreled, and as a result of their quarrel, Vinata became a servant of Kadru, and Garuda, the son of Vinata, wants to release his mother from servitude, dasatva, and the condition is that if you bring Amrit from heaven, we will release your mother. So Garuda goes, has a fight with Indra and other gods, and brings Amrita from Swarga, from heaven. So the very interesting story, there are dialogues, there are narrative part, there is a kind of Sutradhara intervening in between, there are dialogues of Kadru and Vinta. So there is no time to give examples from the Suparnadhyaya. It is published, it can be referred to. And now we come to a very important ceremony described in the 3rd chapter of Nāṭyaśāstra. The first 3 chapters of Nāṭyaśāstra, describing the origin of theatre, a part of which I have described in the beginning of my lecture, and then the construction of the building of theatre, Natya Mandapa, and invocation of the gods and their worship on theatre. They are very much related to the whole Vedic Dev Mandala and the ceremony of Rang Devat Pujana, the worship of the gods which are enshrined, which are invoked and which are seated on a stage in the Natya Mandapa, in the building of theatre, that is described in the 3rd chapter. And the ritual of Rang Devata Pujana, it was meant to be performed for the consecration of the newly built Natya Mandapa. And in this description of the Rang Devata Pujana, the whole idea of Yagya and the Vedic gods and their worship, it is there. And in this way, our theatre tradition, which starts from Nāṭyaśāstra, differs from the European theatre, that there is a Dev Mandala, And human beings alone are not performing, they are performing in the presence of gods. Gods are seated, they are invoked and they are seated on the stage itself. So after the construction of the Natya Mandapa, Bharat Muni says in the third chapter, and the ceremony of Rangadevat Pujan should be taken up. So to begin the ceremony, cows are there. The cows are uh, uh, brought in the area of the Natya Mandapa. The Natya Mandapa is recited by the cows and Brahmins for 1 week. Then the ceremony of installation of the gods is performed by the Nāṭyaśāstra or Sutradhara. And the Sutradhara or the Nāṭyaśāstra should purify his body by sprinkling water, rokshan, and fasting for 3 days. Then he should put on new garments, that is Anahat Ambar. Like Vedic Yagya, they don't wear sewn garments, koshe vastras, new garments they have, and the garments which are sewn by needle, they should not wear on. So all this is laid down for the Rangadevat Pujana. Also, the Natyacharya who would be performing Rangadevat Pujana should wear the new garments. And this Rangadevat Pujana is comprised of these elements: preparation of mandala and installation of the gods on it, worship of gods, and Jarjar Puja, which represents Indra. Jarjar is a symbol of Indra, a bamboo stick, and then Homa ceremony, then Udyotan ceremony, which is illumination, and it resembles the Aratrik or Arti ceremony in the temples nowadays, and lightning or illumination of the theater building by Deepikas, etc., and playing of various Atodhyas. So these 7 items are part of the whole Rangadevata Pujana, and these gods, Saraswati, Lakshmi, Siddhi, Medha, Dhrati, Smriti, Som, Surya, Marut, Lokpal, Mitra, Agni, all these gods are invoked before the Rangadevata Pujana or ceremony of the worship of gods begins. And this long list is there. Many gods belonging to the Vedic pantheon, they are mentioned, and some gods which belong to the Purana and Agama tradition, they are also mentioned. So whole cosmos is there. All the cosmic bodies are there. This is our idea of theater, that we are not performing alone. The whole cosmos is with us. And this Asuraj, Bhutaj, Pishachaj, Guhyakas, and all the natural phenomena like Vajra, Vidyut, Samudra, they are also there. And Ganapati Mahagramani, he is also there. They are invoked and they are seated on the stage, and they are given seats in the Brahma Mandala, a Brahma Mandala of 4 by 4 hastas in a circular shape is prepared, and each god is given a place in the Brahma Mandala, and then the worship is done. So some gods are they belong to the Vedic pantheon, like Indra, Marut, Ashwinau, in Mitra, Agni, Medha, Dhriti, etc. And the association of Natya Veda with the Vedic worldview is quite evident in invoking and offering salutations to these gods in the ritual of Rangadevat Pujana. And some gods are linked to, are related to Agamic and Puranic traditions also, like Vishnu and Saraswati. They are mentioned in Rig Veda also, but in Puranas they figure more prominently. And some other gods are also, which are taken from Puranas. They are there from the tradition of Puranas. They are there, and there are other gods which represent the properties, the weapons or instruments of the gods. Mrityu, Niyati, Kaladanda, the scepter of Yama, the weapon of Vishnu, Vishnu Praharana, and Vajra, Indra Vajra. They are also invoked and they are given placements on the stage. And Yakshas, Guhyakas, Bhutaj, Pishachas, etc., they are also invoked and they are seated there. And in this way, the Rangadevat Pujana, which is like Vedic Yagya, it begins, and the whole ceremony extensively described how the gods will be offered balis. Bali is not Pashu Bali here. Naivedya, they will be offered. They will be given offerings, and pujan will be done. And Bharat says that this whole ceremony is like Vedic Yagya, is Vedic Yagya. And Brahma Mandala is described it has the whole circumference of 16 hastas, and in each direction various gods are enshrined. So it's a very lengthy description. In the central part, Brahma will be seated. In the north, Shiva will be, Rudra will be there, Indra will be there. In the south, Yama will be there. All the whole Dev Mandala is all the 8 directions, including Nairitya, Vayavya, uh, all the directions, they are given placements. Gods are given placement in all the directions. So ultimately, Bharat Muni says that this is Ishti. Ishti is the word for Vedic Yajna. So the whole Ranga Devat Pujan is Ishti. And it should be performed with proper method or vidhi. If it is not performed by following the proper method or vidhi, then it will result into some kind of disaster. So this idea is also there in Vedic Yajna, that if you do not follow the vidhi properly, it may give a reverse result. So in the same way, Bharat Muni says here, Samyak ishtastu rango vai swamina shubham avahet. The word ishti is repeated again and again. The word Veda for Natya is repeated again and again in the first, second, and third chapters many times. So it is all ishti, and it is Samyak ishti is done. Then there will be Shubha, auspicious result for the sponsor, the person who has sponsored the theater, Swami. And if it is not done by proper method, then Natya Vidvansanam Kuryat. The whole performance will be destroyed. And Rapasya Tatha Shubham. And it will be ominous for the king also. Yajna Samhitam Yetad Ranga Devat Pujanam. Therefore, this whole ceremony is like Yajna. And Apujitva Rangam tu Naiva Preksham Prayojit. Without performing the Ranga Devat Pujana, the theater should not be practiced. No performances should be given. Then finally, we come to the whole Nāṭyaśāstra has various concepts which are related to Veda. And I have only given a rough idea how Nāṭyaśāstra and the performance of theater is related to Vedas. Various categories in the Natya, they are related to Vedas. Even the whole concept of rasa, each rasa should culminate into Purushartha, and each Purushartha is related to Veda, because Veda is Purushartha, Pumartha Prayojan, Purushartha Pratipadak. So in this way, even the 4 vrattis, which are matrikas of Natya, which lead to the creation of theater, Bharati, Satvati, Arbhati, and Kaishiki. These 4 modes of performance, Bharati is related to Rig Veda, and Satvati to Yajurveda, and in this way, the 4 vrattis are related to the 4 Vedas. So the whole theater practice is a Vedic tradition, and it has developed from Vedas. This is the idea given by Bharat Muni. So in this way, the Nāṭyaśāstra, as described in the 14th and 15th chapters of Nāṭyaśāstra. Nāṭyaśāstra is the first authentic exposition of prosody in our Indian literature. Earlier to Nāṭyaśāstra, there is a Pingal Sutram of Pingal Muni, Pingal Rishi, but it describes the Vedic meters, Vedic chandas. And for the Lokic meters, Nāṭyaśāstra is the earliest text which describes the Chandas-shastra for Sanskrit literature or for Sanskrit poetry. So Bharat Muni discusses how these chandas are related to the whole Vedic rituals. So there are 3 savanas, like Trikala Sandhya. The Vedic text describes 3 savanas: Pratah Savan, Madhyandin Savan, and Sayam Savana or Antim Savana. So there will be 3 ablution and chanting of mantras 3 times in a day, and they are called Pratah Savan, Madhyana Savan, and Sayam Savana or Antim Savana. So Bharat Muni says that various meters or chandas in this Chandas-shastra, they each one of the chandas has a link to Vedic God, and its recitation is like Pratah Savan or Madhyanin Savan or Sayam Savana. So these 14 chapter which describes the Nāṭyaśāstra, it describes the deities for various meters, for various chandas, and like this Gayatri is a Vedic meter, and it leads to the developments of various Lokic meters. And what will be its god? It will be Agni Devata, and it's Pratah Savan, and for other chandas it will be Madhyandin Savan. Like Trishtup Chanda, it will have Madhyandin Savan, and Tritiya Savan, this Jagati Chanda will have Tritiya Savan. So the linkage of chandas to Vedic rituals is also seen here. So here I will end my lecture. Thank you very much. In this way, we see that Vedic worldview is percolated in the whole practice of theatre. And Natya, as described by Bharat Muni, is linked to Vedic text and Vedas. Thank you very much.
Dhanyavadah. Thank you so much, Professor Tripathi ji. This talk, Nāṭyaśāstra and Veda, is the second video in a new series brought to you with Dr. Radhavallabh Tripathi ji, a very well-known scholar, Sanskrit, a very famous Indian scholar. Just a few words, Dr. Tripathi has served as Vice-Chancellor of the Central Sanskrit University, erstwhile Rashtriya Sanskrit Sansthan, deemed university in Delhi between 2008 and 13. In addition to decades of service as a professor of Sanskrit, he has also served as a visiting professor at Silpakorn University, Bangkok, and a fellow at the Indian Institute of Advanced Study, IIAS, Shimla. He has published 169 books, 237 research papers and critical essays, as well as translations of more than 30 Sanskrit plays and some classics from Sanskrit into Hindi. He has received 35 national and international awards and honors for literary contributions, which include the Sahitya Akademi Award for original poetry in Sanskrit, Shankar Puraskar for best philosophical writing, UGC Veda-Vyas Samman, Ramkrishna Sanskriti Samman from Canada. I once again thank Professor Tripathi for taking time out to share his views on this topic. This was brought to you by Indica Bhasha, and I look forward to bringing the next video in this series with Professor Tripathi. Namaste. Dhanyavad.
Dhanyavad. Thank you very much.